cost of government. Have you had a chance to look at House File 45 and whether it meets your vision?
Well, I'm appreciative of the fact that the legislature has taken this up real early. You know, the fiscal year is already more than half over. And there's a lot of decisions, I think, that have not been made wisely in the past that we want to correct. In fact, frankly, before he left office, Governor Culver did an $84 million reduction in the budget that was, I guess, contemplated in a bill that was passed last year. But that wasn't done until partially through the year. And some of those cuts hit really heavily in areas like corrections and human services that could jeopardize the health and safety of Iowa citizens. And so the $84 million, we may not be able to, we may have to backfill some of that just to protect the health and safety of Iowa citizens. So we're going to be very careful and very thoughtful. But we do intend to reduce the size and cost of government, but we want to do it in a thoughtful way, in one that doesn't jeopardize the health and safety of our citizens. So that makes it more challenging and difficult. We also want to work with the legislature on that and make sure they understand that, and we're sharing those concerns with them as well. The Director of Corrections, the Director of Human Services, and other agencies, we've had several meetings with them and appreciate very much the sensitivity towards, as we reduce the size and cost of government, the need to protect the safety and health of our citizens.
But you're on a time crunch to do that because pink slips would go out before the end of the month under the previous plan.
Yeah, we also have a situation where a whole lot of new people have been hired that we're going to review, and we're going to ask the new departments and agencies, is it absolutely necessary to hire back these people? And so I think we have to make those decisions, and we need to make them in a careful and thoughtful way, and respecting the fact that in some instances we'd like to reduce the cost, but we also respect that there's safety of our citizens at stake that have to be protected.
So the prospect is that for the current budgeting year, Republicans in the legislature may indeed have to spend more rather than cut, because the current plan only cuts $6.5 million from the current year's budget.
Well, I think they've been given a situation where the budget has been badly mismanaged and decisions have not been made timely. And now they're going in and trying to clean up a mess and make the best out of it. And recognizing that we can't afford to do business as usual. We need to have a more thoughtful approach. We need to have a more long-range approach. That's why we're looking at a 2-year budget with a 5-year projection. And I'm appreciative of their cooperation and interest in working with us in that, and willingness to make these tough decisions up front. And that's the benefit of making tough decisions up front and not having across-the-board cuts or having cuts made in the closing days of an administration. That's not the way government should operate. We're not going to let that happen in the future.
But just to be clear, you could be doing things in both directions. You could be
Yes,
stopping some of these pink slips, and you could be getting rid of some people that just...
Yeah, absolutely, and I think we're going to have to do that, because our focus is going to be on reducing the size and cost of government, but also we respect our responsibility to protect the safety and health of the citizens in that process. And so that's why we've asked, and the two biggest agencies where this is an issue is corrections and human services. And those are very, they're dealing with human issues, they're dealing with protecting the safety of the citizens and the health and well-being of the people that are affected. So we want to make sure that's done in a very sensitive and thoughtful way.
Just to be clear, when you say we may have to backfill, have you made the decision that we will be doing a supplemental, or just...
We haven't made the final decision. That's where we spent a lot of our time yesterday, and we have in previous days, and we will in the, I'm going to submit a budget, and it's a very short time frame to submit a budget by the 27th of January. That's a week from Thursday. So we don't have a lot of time, but we are going to go into great detail. I want to understand and have a very thoughtful budget, even though it's going to be a very austere budget, and we're going to have to make a lot of tough decisions. But that's what I want to assure people, is that this is not going to be the across-the-board approach. It's going to be a thoughtful approach that sets priorities and respects our responsibility to the people of Iowa to protect their health and safety.
Governor, if you do backfill, would you take money from the ending balance, or is there other funds that have dollars in them, power fund, other things like that that you could take money from?
We're looking at some of those programs. You know, we're looking at some programs being eliminated, but we're also, you know, trying to look at the whole picture. And so we look at putting together a comprehensive budget that's not going to play, as has been done in the past, shifting from one fund to another, but give people a full picture of this is what's being spent and where it's going, and we want to make sure that our ongoing expenses are less than our ongoing revenue.
Would you say that you and or your staff are going to be running some midnight oil between now and
Well, yeah, we're going to be working long and hard. I don't know if it's going to be midnight. It might be more early in the morning than late at night, but yes, we're going to be putting in some long hours and making some difficult decisions. We've already held a number of budget hearings and budget meetings, and now we're getting down to the decision-making process in order to be able to put this together and present it to the General Assembly by the 27th.
To deal with the $84 million in cuts that Culver made in the past couple of weeks, for instance, in DHS, it was something like $23.7 million. Do you intend to cut 23.7 elsewhere, or spend 23.7?
Well, the problem is you're already, first of all, you got to recognize where you are. You're over halfway through the fiscal year, and so that limits your options on what you can do. One of the things that I talked about in the campaign, why replace the people that took early retirement? We could have saved that money by not replacing those people, and as I understand it, hundreds of people have been hired. Well, I don't know that we can afford to do that on an ongoing basis. I do respect there are some critical positions for safety reasons that had to be replaced, but not the number. And that's what we're asking the new department heads to review and look at and say, is this position absolutely necessary? This person is newly hired, they're in a probationary status. It's much easier, you know, not to continue their employment than somebody else who is, where you have very complicated procedures you got to go through to let people off.
I think some of the directors of the different agencies also have been charged with reevaluating their budget and where they're at now, looking at the cuts that were implemented with the 84 across, that was just implemented, and seeing if they can maybe do things a little bit different and find, although it's a very tough budget that they've been dealt, but where they can maybe find some cost savings within the budget too. So it's kind of a combination of all.
I think you need to recognize that the $84 million basically went where the people that took early retirement came from. So the problem with that is some of those retirements are disproportionately in some critical positions, say in corrections or human services, that deal specifically with protecting public safety and health and the health of our citizens. So those are the things that we are most concerned about. Most agencies are going to be expected to live with that cut, even though it came halfway through the year. And they anticipated there was going to be some of that. As I understand it from the directors of those, particularly those two agencies, the large agencies, corrections and human services, the magnitude was more than they had anticipated.